on the real, baby, look outside. A war on the real, baby, look out. Cause it's a war on the real, baby, look outside. A war on the real, baby, look out. Cause it's a war on the real, baby, look outside. A war on the real, baby, look out. Cause it's a war on the real, baby, look outside. A war on the real, baby, look out.
Giant game. Why is it that I'm not surprised when I see you slide into home base? Wow. I want to apologize, everybody. I'm starting an hour later than normal. I think that may work out sometime better. But put it this way. No, I can't put that information out there. How could I say it? I'm never at really the loss of words, but I want to keep things dignified. Sometimes when in your house plumbing, you sometimes put things in there, maybe like paper towels, little kid will do that, and it blocks the plumbing, okay? Prune juice, I'm not saying no more. So, woo, thank the Lord. All those two things, you know what I'm trying to talk about and say, but I won't bring it there because this is not that kind of show. But I'm feeling good and everything is all right. But I tell you one thing, I know what it's like maybe to go through a labor. I'm making fun, but wow. You just never know. Treat your body right, keep yourself hydrated, and stay away from those couple of things that may block things, if you know what I mean. Well, this is a topic that I guess many people know about. Religious conflicts in Black families. Do you refuse to accept someone of a different faith? Family members. Say you have a Christian mother who were raised in the church, but you go off to now become a Muslim. Or you go off and become an atheist or something else, a Buddhist or whatever. I mean, the thing with this is that, and I'm going to go down my list, and I'm not going to make it a 3-hour show because I know folks have things to do on a Friday afternoon or Friday evening, but Renee Green, welcome on in. I get all the superstars coming in early. I got to play some games. When I get everything set up, say, hey, the first person in wins this or wins that. Yeah, we'll do some fun stuff. Have a lot of things planned, and things are, coming along well. I'm very happy. Like I said, I don't put everything out there, but I'm gonna put this out there. Starlink contacted me and said everything is set to go. Got all the information? You're registered? I'm like, yes. So that's one thing I can't keep my mouth shut on, but every other thing I will. So I'm very, 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 very happy about that. Being one who is used to unlimited, data, downloads, uploads all day, all night, Miss Mary Ann. You know what I mean? So that's such a good thing, and I'm happy about that, Wow. We're going to touch all the different aspects of this. So let me just start reading off some of these things and make my comments, and we'll take it from there. And again, at any point or toward the end, or even if you say, hey, I want to come in and say something, fine. I'll throw you the link. Matter of fact, I'll put it out there from now. Let me go ahead. But it doesn't mean I'm going to let everybody in at one time, because I want to make sure to get these points out there. That's the main thing. Sometimes I get carried away and forget all about what I put down. There'll be people who listen to the replay and say, hey, man, you didn't. And if for some reason it happens again, understand after the show, Tracy J in the house. Yes. This is a better fit because at 10 o'clock, you already had time to get home. So, I might start doing it this way. And realistically, I'm probably going to have it at a fixed time, like I've been trying, unless something comes up. And I'm going to do a Monday through Friday thing. But don't think that I won't do shows on Saturday and Sunday. But because of, all I'll say is construction, I'm going to always upload stuff. So those Saturdays and Sundays, there'll be content uploaded. And if I do a show, it may not be at the exact time that I do it during the week, but I want to lock it in where Monday through Friday, possibly even 6 o'clock. If I can do it at this time, I just have to regulate my sleeping hours and everything. But I want to lock it in where I put it out there. I'm going to make some graphics to put it out there. And if for some reason it changes on a regular, I'll change that too. When certain things are done here, I'll be able to settle in more and have everything set. So I love doing a good discussion and then going to bed, or just winding down after that. You know what I mean? It's a rhythm that I began to love, and I'll do everything other rest of the times. I got some shorts to put up after this that I did earlier, but because of my plumbing issue, I slept late because I was up, and boy, brother man was struggling. But yeah, the regularity, but always on Saturday and Sundays, wherever I go. And chances are I'll do live shows on Saturday also, but that may move around. And on Sunday, the same thing. I have no problem doing 7 days a week. It's just that with the other things that I'm doing, I'm not going to write that in stone. But you'll probably get more content on Saturday and Sunday because I take the camera with me, do a little short one here, 10 minutes, 15 minutes here, do this, do that, then come home and upload it, you know. But I'm going to try to keep up with everything all the time because I really enjoy doing this. Yes. So let me just start out. Religious beliefs have been a cornerstone of Black communities in America for centuries. From the days of slavery, where spiritual practices offered solace and strength, to the modern era, where religion continues to serve as a guiding force in the lives of many African Americans or American Africans. Faith has always played a significant role. However, as diverse religious beliefs and practices have emerged, they have also become a source of conflict within Black families. The intense commitment to religion within the Black community, born from historical experiences, can make it particularly challenging when family members do not share the same beliefs. This discussion explores the dynamics of religious conflicts in Black families, the historical context that makes religion a sensitive topic, and the various combinations of belief systems that can cause rifts. By understanding these complexities, we can work toward healing and reconciling families torn apart by religious differences. Hold on one second. Okay, just wanted to make sure that light was off in the other room, you know. But anyway, the significance of religion in Black families is deeply rooted in the history of African Americans. During slavery, religion was often the only source of hope and resilience to enslaved people. Christianity, in particular, was used both as a tool of oppression and as a means of survival. Enslaved Africans incorporated their own spiritual practices into Christianity, creating a unique religious experience that emphasized deliverance, freedom, and justice. Post-slavery, the Black church became the central institution in the community, providing not only spiritual guidance, but also social, political, and economic support. Oh, tell me about it. Economic support. Pass that offering plate. Over time, different denominations and religious movements emerged, each with its own doctrines and practices. However, the strong attachment to religion persisted, making it a vital part of Black identity and family life. In modern times, the rise of various religious beliefs, including Islam, African spiritual practices, and non-religious or secular worldviews, has led to increased diversity within Black families. While this diversity reflects the richness of Black culture, it also introduces potential for conflict when family members adhere to different religious systems. Got problems here. How you gonna be a Christian and go on and marry that Muslim? How that gonna work out? Religious conflicts within Black families can arise from a variety of combinations of belief systems. These conflicts are often fueled by deep-seated historical and cultural attachments to specific religions, coupled with a sense of betrayal or fear when a family member diverges from the family's traditional faith. Here's a few common scenarios. Christianity versus Islam. Christianity and Islam are two of the most widely practiced religions within the Black community. When one family member converts to Islam in a predominantly Christian family, it can lead to tension. This is often due to the misconceptions about Islam and fears rooted in historical and contemporary narratives. Christianity versus African spirituality. The resurgence of interest in African spiritual practices can cause conflict in families where Christianity has been dominant for generations. Older family members may view African spirituality as pagan or heathen, leading to clashes with younger relatives who seek to reconnect with their ancestral roots. That's something, that's a hot one now. I'm gonna add something else in there. I'm not knocking African spirituality by no means, but you have many in America, black folks, right? I'm just gonna tell it straight. They may come to Africa or stay where they are, but they'll tell everybody, oh, yes, I'm into African spirituality and all of this and that. And a lot of them are using that as a cover for straight up the occult. Now, I'm not calling African spirituality the occult now, the real practice of it. And then we have some who come and accept everything they see in Africa as being true African spirituality, when oftentimes, it ain't nothing but a hustle. I'm not saying it's a hustle all the way, but you have people out here who use it as a hustle on gullible people who come from somewhere else. And just because you wear an ankh, and the shiki, or whatever, these guys, well, yeah, come on, bring me some schnapps, bring me something to drink, and give me this amount of money, and we'll go through the ritual. That ain't African spirituality. That's a hustle. The real, you don't even see them. What they do is very powerful and very real. And I wouldn't mess with that, or meaning that I wouldn't mess with it as far as like taking it light or playing around with it, because you're following something. And when I see the occult, we know our spiritual practices have been taken over traditionally and morphed and twisted around, having power, but used for the wrong things. And that's what I mean by the occult. Okay. And then many of us go run behind that, which has been taken, bit off, and digested a certain way. And we think that's the real thing and run back over here with it. You see what I mean? So there's a lot of mix up going on. We need clarity. And there are many people who are not going to like me saying that, because they know they're not practicing true African spirituality. They know they're in the occult, and they're trying to tell you that. I'm very clear on that. All right, let's move on to the next point. Let me see what this comment here. Yeah. Yes, you're right, Tracy J. Yep. Look what she said. Christianity has many strands, and they all say they're Christians, but the beliefs are totally different. Exactly. And the practices and the intent. You understand? So that's what it is. Christianity versus secularism / atheism. Atheism or secularism, tongue twister, is often met with resistance in deeply religious Black families. The decision to abandon religion altogether can be seen as a rejection of family values and traditions, leading to feelings of betrayal and alienation. Different Christian denominations. Even within Christianity, different denominations can lead to conflict. For example, a Baptist marrying a Catholic might face opposition from both sides of the family due to differences in religious practices and beliefs. Ain't that something? There's one God, and you got these people rolling around in the dirt because one person chooses to go, look, if I'm throwing a party and I live in the central part of town, right? And you who are coming from the east, you have a different way of getting to the party that's in the center of the city. And you coming from the west, just like the south and the north, you're going to take different roads to get to that point. The point is getting to my party that I'm throwing for everybody. So the person coming from the west can't tell the person from the east, why are you taking that road? You need to come from over here. Go all the way past where I'm having the party, all the way to the west, and then start all over again. So we got to take it from where we are. And many of us are so narrow-minded, and the center point of this basically is Christianity, of this discussion, because that's what most of us know. And even if you're in Islam in America, right? And I'm hearing God, but I'm speaking from American standard point of view, right? That you understand that too. But there's so many Christians who they're so butthurt and anal. And this is not an anti-Christian rant, but too many people call themselves something that they can't even live up to. They call themselves something that they can't live. And of course, you can't find the word Christian in the Bible. We all know that, but I'm just talking loose right now. Don't hold me down to all of that, right? I've seen more hateful, vindictive, narcissistic people in the church. And I've seen individuals in Islam who are about loving God, whatever. So how can I knock the man who is showing the true attributes? Because the religion is nothing but a crutch, y'all. Now don't get me on that one. Let me explain. The religion is a crutch. You have a broken leg. We're in the world and we're carnal and we're worldly to a certain degree. And so we use religion as a crutch because our leg is broken. We come into an imperfect place and we're not perfect. So we feel with this religion, and I'm not saying that you have to be pro-religion or anti, but the true purpose of religion is to walk on it because you got a broken leg until the leg strengthens. And then you can throw the crutch down because you can walk right. But your crutch may not be my crutch, right? And then people will say, well, you only have to come through Jesus Christ. Okay, I'm not going to argue with that. I'm not here to argue with anybody about what they believe and what they feel. But if we are supposed to be in Christianity so Christ-like, why the hell are we so damn evil? Huh? In one position over the other one. Oh, she's leading the choir. I got a better voice, and I know because pastor don't like my husband. And we dress up and act like royalty. Excuse my French, but we got shitty minds. And this is not everybody. It's another hierarchy, for the most part, that's parallel to the worldly way of doing things. Let me come on. You look at the gospel awards. Whenever they have the gospel awards, they give out awards. I see more cleavage and more tight skirts than I do in the church. Or I'm sorry, not the church. I see more of that in the church than in the world. Yeah. I've seen more love in the whorehouse lots of times than I do in the church house. And when you go there one time, you can't see it. When you go week after week after week and you hear it, you see how who don't like who cutting their eye at who. What you mean you saw more love in the whorehouse? I thought you said you never went in the whorehouse and bought none. No, but I got friends. And we were all hanging out back in the day, late 70s, early 80s, and they going to relieve their urges. What am I going to do? Stand out in the blizzard, in the cold? I'm coming up there too. The problem is I tell it like it is, and I'm not hiding anything. And I've seen more respect in the whorehouse. Yeah. And that's another story. I got stories about that. One story I'll say is that when the cops came in there, I was so scared. I said, oh my God, I'm going to get busted for something I ain't doing. They just came to get their regular payment. And this was in a jurisdiction of what now? The 103 you don't say 103rd, you say 103. In New York, when you say it, if you're really down with, not that you're down with cops, that's their jargon. That is, 106, 103. You don't say 103rd, 106. You don't do that. It shows you're a neophyte. You don't know that cop talk. And when you talk to them that way, say, hey, you got somebody on the job? You know what I mean? So yeah, BB, you're right, Tracy J. You're right. Some first ladies are starting to get BBLs and breast jobs. Why? Why? Because you're mad at the girls in their early 20s and middle 20s and they breaking out anti-gravity breasts and backsides. What? That's nature. So that shows your mind to be in a certain place. This is what I'm talking about. It's so true. The first ladies want to have the best vehicle, the best body. For what? Who are you trying to titillate? How are you going to compete with titties? Well, I want bigger breasts. And they fake anyway, so you don't feel good about it. How you going to compete with some young chick and have a more rounded backside? You had a time when your stuff was standing up. I'm not saying accept letting them knock down. Exercise, eat right. But don't be mad at somebody that's innocently there and you're looking at them up and down. That's prominent in the black church. You see? This is something. Let me see here now. Okay, yeah. Religious versus non-religious marriages. When one spouse is religious and the other is not, this can create tension, particularly when raising children. Families may pressure the non-religious partner to convert or, at the very least, participate in religious activities. Well, I'm not going to knock the person for that to say, because if I was in any particular religion or not, and I married somebody who was, I'd respect them. Don't expect me to be a card carrying member, and but I'll go. I'll go. Because if I'm with the person, I'm with them. Doesn't mean I have to accept everything. And those are conversations you have to have before you get married. But then when family interferes with it, it's a whole different thing. You have a mother-in-law that's in the church and you're not, and your wife is, and she drops by, oh God, I don't feel like her witnessing to me. Or little snide remarks, Well, you ain't got to accept Christ, but it's a shame. It's a shame the kid's mama gonna go to heaven and the kid's gonna go to heaven, and it's a shame some of us gonna go in hell and burn. What you worried about like that for? Don't you got your own things you got to deal with? Focus on self. If it's all about love, ultimately, right? Now, don't let that spill over to the rainbow, because I was looking at a video a little earlier, and what's his name? Oh God, Jesse Lee, whatever his name is, or Peterson, is it? A little funny guy. They found, I heard that he was gay, right? But they don't say nothing about it no more. But he was interviewing a gay dude, and the gay dude was saying, I have no problem with everybody marrying who they want to marry and having kids. And so Jesse Lee called him and say, having kids, so you say it's right for two men if God wanted it that way, then he would have made it where two men can have children. And the guy said, oh, no, I don't, no, yeah, we can adopt. Well, didn't say where man's not supposed to live. He was so cool with it. I don't like that guy really anyway, right? I don't really like him, Reverend Jesse Lee Peterson. I don't like him. I don't hate him. I just did something wrong. He always trying to mess with somebody, but I didn't mind it this time. Not that I hate anybody, but this guy was arrogant and flaming. Yes, we can have kids. And so. Somebody you don't like sometimes takes care of a situation that, you kind of agree at that one time. I didn't mind. I was laughing. But again, I'll defend anybody's right to make whatever choice they want for their life, as long as you don't mess with anybody else and push on nobody else. You know what I mean? Okay, and here we go. Religious beliefs and sexual orientation. Conflicts can also arise when religious beliefs clash with a family member's sexual orientation. For example, a devoutly Christian family may struggle to accept an LGBTQ relative, leading to exclusion or strained relationships. Yeah, but I mean, that's what you're going to do, be a Christian and cut certain things out? Oh, we're going to turn our head on the part where it says man may not lay with man and woman can't lay with woman. And it's just amazing how, also at the same time, why are you going to demonize somebody for their choices? I'm not trying to play both sides. I'm saying it like, okay, you over there doing your thing. You're my son, you're my daughter, you're my brother. I still love you. That's the part that I touch. I'm not sitting up in your house at night in your bedroom next to your bed in a cot while you and your partner doing a 69, and I'm sitting there saying, oh, it's such pretty curtains you have there. No, I'm not supposed to see that. If that's what you do, and I know that's what you do, I can chop that part off and see you as I need to see you, right? But that we start meddling or whatever, you'd be surprised. Let me tell you something. My good friend, when I was growing up, we were all the same classes in elementary school. His family was heavily into the church. And I was raised in a Christian type household. Why do I say type? My mother wasn't strict like that, but she wasn't loose anyway. But because she sung, had a great singing voice, graduate singing opera, but she was always commissioned to come to funerals, to weddings. So on Saturday and sometimes Sunday, we weren't always at the same church. But it was an overall love that she had for people that wasn't anywhere in the church or out of it. And she let me know there's other ways of getting to the same place. Oh, that's blasphemous. Oh, Christ is the only way. All this rigid business. Let people feel for themselves. At first, when you rent a new apartment or move into a new house, what you doing? You oiling up the walls with your fingerprints, feeling around for the light switch. When you live in there after a few months, you can walk in there with a bag full of 2 bags of groceries and reach up one finger in the dark where you can't see and touch the tip of the light switch Boom, and you have it come on. Let people live and make their own decisions. The bottom line is we're here to learn. We've been dealt a certain hand out of the deck of cards in life. Let us figure it out. If you ask me my opinion, I'll give it to you in love, not to beat you down with it. Because, see, why beat somebody down on one side? And you may have some stuff that other people would beat down on the other. So I'm focusing on me. I give you my opinion. I'm not, and when we speak on certain things in the Bible, it's not judging. It's assessing according to the word of God. So if I'm not some pro LGBTQ dude, Lance, you should put rainbows all over you. No, I'm not doing it. That's not my life. That's not how I live. I don't need to push that. That's not what I'm about. I'm focusing on what I'm about. You focus on what you're about. But at the same token, I don't want nobody to beat somebody down because they think they're a certain way. Some people might want to beat me down because they say he's a revolutionary, he's militant. Oh, let's shadow ban him and make his stuff not go out there. Hey, whatever. These platforms don't belong to me anyway. So it's a fine line how we have to look at things. Accept our children, love them, tell them what's right from wrong, and don't back up off of that. It don't mean you have to promote it or whatever. The Scurvinator, Mad Guns Forever, welcome on in. I like that name too. Scurvinator. I'm gonna put you in charge of that. Any name I need to have is only gonna come. It's gonna be official from Mad Guns Forever. Yes, indeed. Next one, intergenerational conflicts. Younger generations may seek new spiritual paths that differ from their parents or grandparents, leading to intergenerational conflicts. Older family members may perceive these new beliefs as a rejection of the family's heritage. You got to live for you. You can honor your family heritage, but you were put here. See, let me tell you something. When you were put here as a separate entity, you are connected by your DNA. And hopefully, if your forebears were righteous enough and loving enough, there's a spiritual DNA that will continue on. Live and let live. Guide them the right way, but don't beat them down because back in my day, you know what I mean? This reminds me of, I don't want to reveal people that I know, but it was another family that was very religious. And the grandfather lived with, and this is recent, well, not recent, like yesterday, right? Because this is a story I heard of, but I knew them all from years ago in New York, right? So the grandfather was a staunch, religious, down to the letter, Christian. And the grandson, who was a teenager, a little older now, in his early 20s, he had a girlfriend over and they were watching TV. And the grandfather, to flip it back, in his room, in his computer, he was a hip old guy who knew how to work the internet and everything like that. And he would prepare writings for the church and help out that way, right? So, flashback, the grandson, who's an athlete, muscular, handsome young man, he had a girlfriend over. There was no problem. And the grandfather was always like really strict. Well, she can't stay here past, this certain time, to say, well, listen, this is a special program coming on. And I want to watch this. And I asked my mother, my father's going to be late at work. Mother's there. She's going to go to sleep early. She said, I have no problem. There are multiple TVs in the house anyway. So it wasn't like, stay out of the living room because I got my girlfriend in there. Well, he took it upon himself. Remind you now, he's a staunch, strict Christian, the grandfather. His daughter, the young man's mother, was sleeping. And his stepson, the boy's father, the young man's father, was at work. He worked at night. So everybody else, I think it was a brother or sister, whatever, they were gone. So it was just the girlfriend and the grandson in the living room. This is how some of these people are. He wanted to creep up and be nosy and see how they were doing. So he peeked. And then he closed the door. They didn't hear him. But then they noticed, and there was a mirror right next to where the TV is, and you could see back where the door was. So they peeped that. They caught it. Then it got real late, and the program was still on, right? And they kind of forgot about the program. And to keep it decent, the girlfriend was performing an act on the grandson. And they were far gone in it. And they didn't see that the grandfather didn't just bust in and say, "Hey, what are you doing? Stop." Homeboy was a voyeur, and he was steady watching, but nobody knew it. So he waited until they were completely done, and then he busted into the living room. "You shouldn't be doing that stuff here. It's wrong. It's against God. That's a nasty act to perform. She's a whore. And you, blah, 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 up under the household." Okay, technically that's not ain't the grandfather's house either, but still, okay. You're an elder. You're the father of the mother. You know what I mean? You're the grandfather, whatever. And you live this way. But it's the same token. Come on, weren't you a teenager too? And the funny part about it is, well, see, he was so caught up in that, and he never let it die. The girlfriend never came back over, although they continued to see each other. And eventually they broke up, not because of that, but things happened. And they stayed together for a good 2 or 3 years. And so the grandfather was mad whenever he knew that he was going over to her place. Because eventually she got her own place. I think she was like 2 or 3 years older anyway. So I know what you're over there, going over there to do sinful things. And that's all he focused on. Well, one day he was out with was his church, and they had some kind of religious convention in another state. And he was gone. So this same grandson went up, and the grandfather was, I'm not going to say he's too dumb. I'm going to say it just for effect. He was too dumb to lock down his computer. So the grandson went in his room and went on there. The grandson went and checked his history on the computer. And guess what he saw? The very thing that he had done to him, that's what the grandfather was fixating on. What's my point? It wasn't that he was trying to tell him that it was the wrong thing to do. You shouldn't do that and she's a whore. Negro, you were jealous that he was getting his. That's what it was. And what I find lots of times in the church, and I'll get back on point, a lot of these older, crusty churchmen who didn't live or sow their oats, not that you have to, or they're not happy in their marriage, don't be mad at somebody who you know when you see them with these nice, shapely young ladies and they sexy or whatever, even when they covered up. And you mad because you just know what you did or what you wanted to do when you were that age. That won't happen to me because I did a lot of stuff and I have no interest in living that way no more, right? But I can tell you a lot about that. Oh man, another name drop. I can't wait. April, welcome on in. We're getting down in it tonight. We're having fun. I love it. But yeah, you mad at a young man because you know what's happening. I'm not saying you want to push him into anything, but you catch him doing something. That's life. That's what happens. And you mad because this is what you fixating on. The specific act that she was doing, that's all he was looking at. You know? Hypocrite. I'm not going to call everybody a hypocrite. You know, like I said, I see more realness in the street when people can tell you what they do. Right? Okay, here we go. Another one. Let me just raise it up a little bit. Religious conservatism versus liberalism. Within the same religion, there can be a divide between conservative and liberal interpretations of doctrine. For example, differing views on issues like gender roles, marriage, and social justice can cause significant tension within families. But ain't there something? When these things cause tension in families, that means there's somebody who's saying this is the way it is. If you're feeling around for the light switch in the dark, it takes time to find it. Just because you know where it is, give people a chance to not beat them down with certain things. Show love and encouragement, nurturing. State what you feel is the right thing. And you know, encourage them to maybe follow that way But let them know if they go over the double yellow line on the road, hopefully there's not a head-on collision coming for them. Hopefully they can get around it, get over it, get in front of it, and move on. You can't be a dictator, because even though children came from the same loins, you know, whether they came from somebody's loins. It could be a stepbrother, but I'm saying that it takes time. Let people live their life and learn the lessons over time. My dear brother Kevin, we were speaking earlier today about an incident that happened within the circle of friends. And I was being, I'm not going to say the exact whatever, all right? I had a falling out with a person who ran the old gym, and it was something minor. And let me get the timeline right now and put my foot in my mouth, because we were talking about it so much, I done messed up the timeline. Well, we had a falling out. I left the gym, went to another gym, and I went into this competition. And it was somebody related to him, right, that they put in the same competition, but I believe he was over age, over 19. Once you turn 20, you can't go in. But they put him in to beat me. And he was a better bodybuilder than me at this time, right? He was better. I have no problem saying that. When I saw the competition, I already knew what it was. You trying to spite me now because I'm not coming to your gym no more, and we had a falling out, which we made up, and we're great, you know? But at the time, so he beat me, no problem. I wasn't mad. I vowed to come back and be better, which I did, way more than what anybody thought, right? So in the subsequent weeks after that, because I protested, I was like, no, this is not right. He's not a teenager. So a female family member, when they would see me in the street, she would say, I protest. But I couldn't see her. Like, she'd hide and do it, like to keep harassing me. I wasn't mad because I lost to him. I knew he was a better bodybuilder than me at that time. I don't envy anybody for where they are in life. You beat me, you're better. I'm not going, oh man, this ain't right, man. I should beat you. I'm not delusional on anything. I know where I stand at all times, and I know where my blip is on the radar screen. So she kept teasing me like that. That was getting frustrating, right? So I said something to her that I shouldn't have said. It wasn't nasty, lewd nasty, but it was improper. You know, I said, shut up and grow something. You know, sometimes parts of our bodies might be very flat, cup size wise. That's all I'll say. So the one that I had to falling out with, he met me in the alleyway. We always got along fine, but see, she put her foot in the mouth. Oh, she kept poking and poking. And so when I said that, it put him in a position where he had to do something. But he didn't want to do nothing. And he's older than me and an ex-Marine, I'm not stupid. I'm a teenager, I'm big and strong, but I couldn't whip that man. So he had to flex on me, and I understood that he had to do that. And later on, years later, not even years later, but the next year, we made up. And even the big trophies that I was winning, I had my start there, and I would bring them. I'd go to the primary gym I was still going there. But after a while, I'd bring the trophies there. And I also went to competitions where I stayed at his gym that I was representing, because that's how I started. You see what I mean? So even with these things, with tension between families, with different beliefs and different things, you can have a falling out, but learn from it. Because he transitioned, right? Maybe a little less than 20 years ago. But me and my friend, Gifty. I want to say that I got good news that somebody had birthed a 20-pound load of baby. That's an inside joke. Everything is all right. Magnesium. Anyway, like I was saying, you know, we can have differences, but are we mature enough to see our error? And are we mature enough to accept someone when they can say, this is where I was wrong? Because so many, yes, you're laughing, you know, because we can all go wrong sometimes. We can all step on toes and not mean to step on it from where we stand at that particular point. And sometimes these families will banish you for different reasons simply for that. A difference in your belief in God's word. We're talking about God's word. You can say creator, you can say this, whatever. God's word, you're going to be mad because somebody else had a different interpretation that eventually may have come to see the light where maybe you knew you were pretty much right in what you said. But you got to understand that they may not see it that way at that time. You can't force it on them. You got to let them live life and catch their knocks and bruises to come around. That's why you have to show love. And it shouldn't be anything where you banish somebody because you have a difference in how you interpret the doctrine. It makes no sense. Okay, here we go. Another one. Religious practices versus modern lifestyles. Traditional religious practices may conflict with modern lifestyles. Sure, it does, especially among younger family members. This can lead to disagreements over activities considered sinful or inappropriate by older, more religious relatives. Let me tell you something. My household growing up was very loving, very accommodating, but they didn't take any mess. But they gave me a little leeway because of the wisdom that they had in dealing with my older brother who was out in the street doing drugs and doing all kind of stuff, right? So it wasn't like they were afraid to pull the trigger. When they found out a couple things about me and these girls and girlfriends and stuff like that, they didn't come down on me too hard because I guess they said this was a lesser of two evils. It's better for him to have slipped a girlfriend in the basement than him being out there. They didn't really say that because they knew I was a good kid. But if they were a different type, oh, I would have got chewed out. And I always try to show respect, and other people are saying, well, you know, that's disrespectful. You know, we love Lance, but that was disrespectful for him to do that and all this stuff like that. What you want me to do? Right? And I kept things on the low and did certain things, but I was doing a lot of that sometimes. And in the back of their mind, they knew, but I tried my best to be the best son that I can be. They knew I wasn't going to disappoint them and take them to the pain of substance abuse or becoming incarcerated. Sometimes we can let people grow. Sometimes we have to give them a little bit, give in a little bit. Because at the end of the day, they'll fully come around and you'll be glad that you didn't beat them down with something that would make them go out and do something that you don't like. I'm not saying to just let people have their way. You know what I mean? And they didn't really, my mother knew how wild I was. Yeah, she knew. Oh, no, she embarrassed me one day. She was like, so I was heading out, right? And my phone was always ringing off the chain. And she said, where you going tonight, Lance? And she was being a smart aleck. I could say that. So I'm going out to the village. I'm going to meet up with some friends. She says, will you be jumping out of cakes tonight also? Oh, man, I ran out of there. She was cracking up. She always knew. Mothers always know. But a wise mother will work with you. I was so embarrassed, but yet I was a worldly young man, knowledgeable of everything. But come on, your mother knowing certain things, you don't want that to happen that way. But that's how it is, a mother's intuition. They know their children. And she would have stepped in if it was something off the chain. Look, if I was jumping out of cakes, it wasn't for men. If it was that, then she would have had to step to me, right? But she knew. Anyway, religious guilt and shame. Religion can be used as a tool to induce guilt or shame. Tell me about it. It didn't happen in my household, especially when a family member deviates from religious norms. This can create long-lasting psychological damage and strain relationships. I got another one for you. Make this one quick. There was a young lady dating a young man in the church, one of the churches I went to, right? And yeah, right? Surprise, surprise. Giant game, right? And they were dating. They did everything decent. If they would go out on a date, they were old enough. They were just got into the early 20s. But they were looked at as young teens who didn't know what they were doing. And they were doing it right. They said that they dated. And now they're courting, right? They weren't engaged and they weren't dating. So they're courting. So there's this convention. And another, they have all these churches have these big conventions with different pastors and hotels are sold out, and you go into the restaurants, and there's half the congregation there, you're being watched. So they were going. So both families were like, well, have you made your accommodations? Where will you be staying? So after a while, they kind of hid quiet about that because they were both going to get a room and sleep together. That was the plan. I don't know if they were sleeping and having sex. That's none of my business. But the mere fact that they might be sleeping together, here comes the religious guilt and shame. So what happened is one of the parents went to the other parent and says, well, can I ask you something? Do you know where your daughter is going to be? Oh, she's going to be at the, so-and-so hotel. And then they got it out of the son, finding out that he's going to be at the same place. They didn't say anything right away because in their mind, you're supposed to be in separate rooms. So this is 3 states over. Wouldn't you believe they didn't say anything and they went to the hotel and found themselves there, somehow found out what room it was and knocked on the door. And they were both in there. It was one room. They couldn't not answer because they already went and came and pulled back the thing and looked. Oh, hold on. And they were shuffling. Everything was shuffling. Clothes getting put on. Hey, maybe they didn't have sex. I've known couples to be engaged. Well can do it. Still breaking the rules technically. And they didn't do anything. They were laying in the bed with no clothes on, hugged up tight, and didn't do anything. Was I there to know? They could be lying to me. But sincerely, the brother I knew, he's like, no, he was deeply, now that looks inappropriate. But then again, we can't go by what looks inappropriate. You see what I mean? I mean, what if I'm not going to say me because I would not be in a scenario. Brother man going to have to pass away or something. But what if it's a emergency medical type person who's in the ambulance, right? And he's walking down the street coming home. Nobody sees this. Now you got a house full of gay dudes. They're always playing their music loud and all kind of lights flashing and disco balls and all kind of dudes up in there. And they get quiet around 2, 3 o'clock in the morning. You know what they're doing. And one of them starts to have a heart attack. And the dude is walking down the street. Maybe his car's in the shop. Somebody dropped him off. He's walking in front of his house. Oh, could you help my friend? I think he's having a heart attack. What are you going to do? I'm not going up in there because you're only gay. This is duty. And some people don't think so. He'll be like, oh, yeah, let the guy just pass. He runs up in there 3 o'clock in the morning. And they do call an ambulance, but what he did to help him at that point was crucial in him keeping himself alive. And it helped. But before the ambulance got there, he comes out. He took a leak before he left out. And he comes out the gay house where gay parties go on, pulling up his zipper 3 o'clock in the morning. And there are people who didn't know why he went in there. Oh, I saw the homeboy coming out of the, man, he must be gay. You can't go on looks. You don't know. I'm sorry. I'm not going to no gay spot 3 o'clock in the morning. Come out there, pulling my zipper up. How that look? But all I'm saying, you can't always take things on face value. Look within a little deeper because circumstances can be completely different than what you think it is. And folks in the church, religious folks all together, most, I'm not going to say all, because I know some really good people who they got it right. They ain't backing up from what they know to be the truth for themselves. But they're going to come to you in love and talk to you in a loving way and pull you toward them to the point where you say, you know what? I like the way they handle this. And they corrected me, but they did it with a soft hand. And if it's a harder hand, it's because I'm really off the chain. But you can't smack somebody down because of a minor infraction. Let them know. Let them know you still love them. Let them know that's not something that you would do. But you have to go on record because of your creator to do the right thing and let them know. That's the real gospel. That's the real witnessing. It ain't like these people. I'm not going to pick on Jehovah's Witnesses now, but it's not like some of these people who they on the corner on a Saturday morning and all they doing is holding up a tract. And they'll tell you I was out there for 6 hours doing the Lord's work. But you just looking at everything, look at the gossip and holding this thing up. You're not talking to nobody. As a matter of fact, talk to people real. If I was out there witnessing like that, there'd be a crowd around me because at first we're going to talk about life. And then I take my time and bring it in. You'd love talking to me because you'd come to me for advice. And if I knew the answer to the dilemma that you were in, I'm going to help you with it. And then you know what I'm all about, so you might question me about it. You might question the fact that I seem to be living a stable, forward, upright life without telling you this is what I do and telling you this is what you should do. Because you can take two women that you don't know walking down the street. If your mind is twisted and both of their knees happen to be dirty, oh, look at them, they both hoeing out here. Yeah, I know, they hoeing because their knees are dirty. You think the two women on their knees doing something to a man. Well, they both might have been on their knees praying. And it's your twisted mind that interfered with you having a mindset of, let me see what this is. See, we judge people by the state of our own mind lots of times. When we open our mouth, we're really telling on our damn self. Ain't that something? We're really telling on ourselves. Next, religious influence on parenting. Differences in religious beliefs can influence parenting styles, leading to conflicts over how children should be raised, disciplined, and educated in matters of faith. Again, you don't start them out rigid. You let them know the broader platform of God being a loving God, God being a just God. You don't shove them in. You better be a Pentecostal, and you better be the Baptist, and you better be African Episcopalian, whatever. You better be Jehovah's and all this. You don't know. Who do you know that sleeps in tight pajamas? When you sleep, you want to be loose and relaxed, but it doesn't mean you're going to let them choose their own way, but give them the broader picture and show them the beauty of that. Show them your loving heart. Children learn more from the parents or whoever it is that's raising them by the examples that they set because they do it. Like the analogy I always use with the 5 grandchildren. And the mother's always at work and the grandmother was always home. And the grandmother was always home to fix their afternoon snacks and meals when they came home from school. And unfortunately, and I mean, I know this is nature, the grandmother passed away. She transitioned. And so what do the kids do now? One of them is old enough to look over the rest. You know, they're not all like toddlers, whatever. But if one's 17 and one's 14, the other one's 9 and 12 and 13, what do they say? We sure miss grandmama's meals. Let's see. I remember grandmama taking the flour and putting in 2 cups here. And then she took the butter or the milk or the this or the that. And they all get together. And although they may make a mess in that kitchen, they've replicated grandmother's meal. So grandma still lives on in their heart because of the imprint that they put into the psyche and in the hearts of those children. It's just like I always say, the moon light is testimony that there's a sun. Even when the sun is on the other side of the planet, it reflects on the moon its light. And even the watered down light from the sun reflecting off the moon can still change the tide. You see that? So it's not just what we say, it's how we show them. So before we box anybody, you should be this and you should be that. You're not going to say, don't be this, but let them know there are other denominations, but this is the reason why we feel we're kind of correct on this. And this is how we feel things should be done. But do it in a loving way, because if not, you're gonna push them away. If you leave them with a bad taste in their mouth, it's not going to be something good. Excuse me while I wet my whistle, which I need to do more often. Give me a second. Give me 15 seconds. We're going to take a big gulp. I I'm never going to turn my back on water again. Not that I did, but I'm going to make sure there's lubrication in this body. Religious beliefs and mental health. Some Black families may view mental health issues through a religious lens, believing that prayer or faith alone can resolve them. This can lead to conflicts when other family members advocate for medical or psychological intervention. I've seen a situation like that. You have a family member. I have to say these things a certain way because while the people involved don't mind me saying it, I don't want to say it so direct. Oh, yeah, that's what it was. No. I'm not here to bust up anybody's privacy. But there was a family member who actually had a nervous condition, right? And it was a severe nervous condition where the twitching and the growling, and they knew what was going on. They even drove a car and everything, But the wife and the rest of the family members were saying they got to pray them demons out of him. And it had nothing to do with that. He had, I forgot what the name was, but he just couldn't sit still. And little kids would see him talking a certain way. He's growling like the wolf man. I'm not making fun. I'm just being descriptive. And they were scared of him. And there are people I know that in our years now, we talk about them and say, yeah, when I was a kid, man, I used to be scared of him. But I knew him, and he was normal as can be, except that he had that condition. But they want to pray out the demons. It wasn't even a mental issue. It became mental down the road, not because they didn't want to acknowledge it, but because he started drinking and he didn't have the sense to know that you can't drink and also take your medication, because eventually he started to take medication. The other family intervened. They're like, no, this ain't how it's going. This is a nervous condition and he can't work, right? So he was always around, but now he starts drinking. Now he starts acting buck wild. You know what I mean? He started, not buck wild, but started doing some strange things. So now they really were saying, the other part of the family, it's demons for real. Why would he go do something like that? You know what I mean? I'm not going to say the incidents, but it was, I'm not going to say hilarious because you can't kick a man when he's down, but it was funny to me as a child. I mean, I had sense, but it was like still funny. They had to keep an eye on him because he couldn't control himself. Nothing nasty or sexual or whatever, but just little things he would do, But that's to show you that, some people can be so. Now there are situations where there are demonic situations, and some people are always looking for the demon off the movie, whatever. And trust and believe, I know that exists also, but it's also what you can't see, because what do they say? The devil. They talk about Satan, the devil. The devil comes in such a beautiful form, right? It comes to you as a man and you're a woman, oh my God, but you don't know it's the devil now, right? Oh, he's so perfect. Look at me, so groomed, so nice. He smells so good. He says the right words. I'm melting. I want to marry that man. And you fellas, you see that woman who looks like you done broke up with somebody, broke your heart. Now you see this woman who's attentive and coming at you. And you're like, oh my God, God brought me this woman. And it may not even be the case. Sometimes it is. You just have to be ready for it. But we can't tell on looks alone, And that woman who may not be the 10 according to the world, who may have a few bumps and dings and scratches, like the scratch and dent sale at the appliance store. The appliance are working perfect, and they take 25% off. In the worldly prayer, I don't want that. They got scratches on it, so you're gonna pay all this money, especially when that scratch is against the wall. You won't even see the scratch. Save me the 25%, right? Religious beliefs and finances. Financial decisions can be influenced by religious beliefs, such as tithing or charitable giving. Disagreements over the allocation of resources can cause significant tension within families. I've done shows about tithing with pastors, and different pastors had different takes on it, right? But one thing I got to say, how are you going to help everybody else when you got an empty cup? And I do believe in the giving part, but let's talk about the pimp pastors, because we know that there's a financial aspect to a church. The lights have to be on, the plumbing has to work, the rent or the mortgage has to be paid. We understand that. We understand that, I'm not mad at that part. But when a pastor's talking about, and I heard a pastor say this out of his mouth. Well, he said this in front of the congregation, and these fools were clapping. Well, he lit up to it, though. Well, I'm here to inspire you. You wouldn't be inspired by me if I was riding a bicycle that had no tires and I was riding on the rims coming to church. After you'd say I'm pastor, but you say, wait. If the word of God in his life is so powerful, how come he's riding around like that? And they were, yeah, praise the Lord. Yeah, you're right, pastor. So I look out now in the parking lot, and I have a Mercedes Benz, but I see, lots of nice cars that may not be top of the line. I saw a nice Volvo. I saw a nice Toyota, but I also noticed there's some Lexuses out there. I also noticed there's some Aston Martin out there, BMWs, right? Well, now I got the same level of car you all have. How am I going to inspire you? This guy was slick. How am I going to inspire you when I got a Benz and you got a newer Benz than me? Well, on Monday morning, I'm going to be going to pick up my brand new Rolls Royce from the dealership. Oh, praise the Lord. Everybody went happy. I'm not mad at him, but I'm going to say it in an ironic way. Where'd that money go? And he had his own money before. This particular pastor was deep into corporate America and the stock market and finance. That I'll give it. I'll give him that much. So he had, but he was dipping. He was dipping. In the mind of the people. Like, if I'm doing, look, why don't you take that money? And there were several buildings on the grounds of this church, gymnasium, a different hall, like a little concert hall. The church was big. I'm not mad at that as long as you're serving the community, right? If that's your job and that's your calling, that's what you're supposed to do. And if it's flourishing in such a way where it's serving the people, serve the damn people. Why do I have to have a Rolls Royce? I like the way they look. Being a bus driver, I had a chance at red lights looking down at the dashboards of all kinds of cars. It took away the need for me to go and get these different cars. To the day I left Orlando, I was driving a 1996 Toyota Corolla. That was a Toyota Corolla that I met Mrs. SCURV with. And when she went on to get the better car, as she should, and it still wasn't brand new, she kept it meticulous. I adopted that car. And we drove it. I swear, it conked out like 2 days before we moved to come out here to Ghana. And it was something to fix, but it was symbolic. Because he went to Walmart, and I saw the lights on the dashboard flash, and there was something with the alternator and something else. And it started driving real slow. It got us like 3 doors away from where we were living at the time with a family member. And I was like, man, that is so symbolic that we drove this car all these years back and forth to work going here. Now on the weekends, we drive in the other car that she drove, which was more of a late model Camry. There's nothing big with that. And I'd take it sometime. Oh, honey, I know you want to drive the Camry. Go ahead. I'm going to stay home today. Say, all right, no problem. If I had something to go to that she didn't feel like going to, I'd take it. But I was not hung up on anything like that, as long as it gets me around. Now, I'm not going to say I want to get a hoopty that I'll be pushing up and down. And yes, one day soon I'm going to get a brand new vehicle and keep it until possibly I leave this earth. You know what I mean? Why not? Because I plan on keeping it. When it pays for it, after a while, it depreciates at first and you lose. But after you pay for it and drive it and keep it for a couple of years, I'm not going to drive it every day. I don't have to. But what I'm saying is that why can a pastor take some money, build a separate small school like you got the property? I'm speaking about this one in particular, who is no longer with us, rest his soul, and set it up where you can teach finance to our children on a deeper level, since you specialized in that. You see, because in these schools, they don't really get down like that, because these schools, public schools, want us to be ignorant to how money works. They're grooming us to be puppets. We don't ask questions. We believe in the American dream, and if you work hard for 25, 30 years, you'll be living better off. And look at America now. And look how many people are butthurt because that dream that they had sold to them, been sold to them, ended up being a lie. And even those who did make money and retire and have a big home and big this and big that, there's a void within them because they realize if they believed in themselves more, went out and did on their own with, you just can't come out and not have no way. Have a job, but also have a dream and a vision beyond that plantation. And they don't like that when you have that. Remember, most revolutionaries that you know, they had some type of hidden or unknown creative talent because naturally their propensity was to think outside the box. That's what made them a revolutionary anyway. The slaves that just accepted, we was born in slavery and we living in slavery. And see my child right there, and I'm sure we're going to have great-great-grandchildren. They're going to be enslaved too. That's just the way it is. I remember when I worked at Home Depot, and there was a guy, Italian guy, had a food truck outside. And we up there lifting tiles and mortar and boxes. And I mean, they had me as a buck, as intelligent as I thought I was. And I think I'm not the dumbest guy in the world, but maybe not be the smartest. So I was outside, and we would go, and sometimes we didn't bring our own food. We'd eat from this truck. And so I said, hey, man, you have such good food here, you don't have to flatter him. I said, am I being too forward in saying how does one get to have a truck on a Home Depot parking lot? Because really it was nepotism. He was related to somebody higher up, not even at that store, but somewhere else that hooked it up for him. Because I'm not a cook by no means, but I know some sisters back then. I didn't know Mrs. SCURV back then. But I knew some sisters who can throw down West Indian dishes, American dishes. Some knew both. I said, they make a killing out there. So I started to ask different managers in the store, how can I go about that? And they were like, almost not like visibly upset, but you can see that they were upset. How dare this big buck who's here to lift boxes for us ask about something else that'll make him more money? Because while I was in the line, I swear this dude, it was a long line too, but this dude made several $100s in such a short time. I want to be in that position. So this makes me wonder about certain pastors who might be part of the secret handshake groups walking through doors that we don't know about. Why don't you empower the children? The hell with a Rolls Royce. I want to see my people do good. I want to see them do better than me. I want to know that I'm instrumental in making them better than me. Then I don't feel bad. I wouldn't feel better if they did it independently anyway. You know what I mean? That's where I'm coming from. The role of unfinished business in religious conflicts. Religious differences in Black families often served as a battleground for other unresolved issues. See? For example, a family member may use religious conflicts as a way to express deeper grievances, such as feeling disrespected, unloved, or undervalued. These underlying issues can exacerbate religious conflicts, turning them into larger disputes that are not solely about faith. In some cases, religion becomes a convenient tool for enforcing power dynamics within the family. A parent, for example, might use their religious authority to control or manipulate a child, masking other forms of emotional or psychological abuse. Similarly, siblings may use religious disagreements to assert dominance or settle old scores, tit for tat, turning what should be a spiritual discussion into a personal attack. I've seen this lots of times. Healing religious rifts in Black families. Healing religious conflicts in Black families requires patience, empathy, and a willingness to understand different perspectives. Here are some strategies that help reconcile family members with differing beliefs. Open communication. Encourage open and honest dialogue where all family members can express their beliefs without fear of judgment or retribution. Now, how many Black families? I'm not knocking Black families. I'm a Black man. I know Black families. So I'm talking from what I know. We're not talking all Black families. I know some beautiful Black families. Let me tell you something. One of the most beautiful families that I've known growing up. They weren't in church on Sunday. They didn't really go. But if you want to feel the love in that household, the connectedness, you couldn't keep me out of there. And they accepted me as one of them. You know what I mean? And all I saw was love and wisdom. And wisdom shared by example. So I'm not saying don't go. All I'm saying is just don't think that just because you don't go that you can't have love, open communication, connectedness, understanding, and empathy. Where in some of the staunchest Christian households that I've known, there's severe, deep dysfunction, secret. Now, I'm not saying everybody. And again, this is not to demonize Christians, but this is the pivot point from which I speak tonight, because most who are listening to this possibly are Christian influence in their upbringing. You see? I mean, I understand Islam too, but I know the dysfunctions and the things that go on in Christian households. And again, this is not to say Christians alone have dysfunctions, because we all have some type of dysfunctional dealing in our life. Doesn't mean it's a deep-seated secret, something that we were violated or what. Doesn't mean that. But in this world, and with our parents and family members who are not perfect, when we're young, we think they are. As we get older, we realize that they have flaws too. We understand that. That's part of growth, to have a higher understanding and appreciate them still for who they are, because they tried their best with you. But oftentimes, with those of us who are younger, we will sometimes often surpass those family members in certain areas of our development and know how to humor them, because we understand this is their Achilles heel. And we understand them. We still love them, and they're still beautiful people. Respect for diversity. Acknowledge and respect the diversity of beliefs within the family. Emphasize that different spiritual paths can coexist without diminishing the value of each. That takes maturity. And could you imagine? I mean, I would try to imagine the other person's positioning. That I raised you, and I raised you under this umbrella. It wasn't rigid. I didn't say you have to be that, but now you actually go and take another religion, a belief system. And then a lot of the people, a lot of the parents are going to say, well, where did I go wrong? Why would they reject this? Something wrong with this? You know what I mean? So it may not be the actual religion. It might be something in your personal life that your child overheard and how you dealt with it that turned them off, because you came off as a hypocrite. This is not a blame show. I'm just talking about some real scenarios. You know what I mean? Focus on common values. Identify and focus on shared values, such as love, respect, and unity, rather than the differences in religious practices. You know, you might be a Muslim in a family full of Christians and go down to the family reunion. You know, grandma always made the best pork. Now you're a Muslim and she's insulted. Well, I know you're a Muslim, but it must be where you can take one day and have some pork, because growing up, boy, you used to fight for my pork. What happened? You got to understand growth, instead of saying, hey, I respect you for having a discipline to refrain from something that I know you love. Right? Ain't that something? See, me growing up, I love sweet things. Oh, not just Shaka Khan. Oh, sweet thing. I used to love that song. I used to play that record over and over and over and over. I had to buy another record and keep it in the plastic so I could have one that wasn't all messed up. There was a girl I fell in love with. Not no long. I was in what was I in junior high school? 7th grade. We went on a class trip and I just kept looking at her. It wasn't real love. I just had a crush on her. And I used to go home and play that song and just think about her all the time. Ain't that something? But yeah, you know, the common things, the common overlapping things that could bring us together, you know, and trying to see the world and see things from another person's perspective. Because we always understand our perspective, right? And we have blinders often, and we don't take them off to say, how does this other person see me, and how do they see this whole situation? Then maybe in your maturity, or maybe you'll gain maturity if you don't have it, you'll understand why they are the way they are. When I used to walk around and I had big muscles and no fat and abdominals and all, I wasn't a show off, but you can tell. And it was always these guys who weren't built that way. They weren't trying to be built, and it's okay if they weren't trying. But I walked down the street and oh man, I heard you guys got little ding dings, and oh, I heard y'all are gay, and you getting catcalled by these dudes, and they had guts that you had to probably put in a wheelbarrow to wheel around. But I understood that. That was their insecurity. Even to this modern day, I'm not even involved in that no more. But I have a certain way I walk, a certain balance to my walk, where you know that in my past years that I can pretty much handle myself. I'm not into those things now. So I get dudes that are my age that come at me for other reasons, but really they're insecure in who they are and who they were. I'm not an insecure man by no means. I thank my father for that, for putting inside of my head that to be the best on all levels that I had to be, and to accept defeat or to accept that somebody might be better in something. But for what I have under my hood, I'm confident that I can win any race, but I'm not out here to race anybody. I'm happy within myself. I'm happy where I am. My body's not in the shape it used to be, but it's not too far off. If I put a little training in 6 months, people, man, what are you taking, steroids? I know what to do. I'm content. I do what I want to do when I want to do it, and I'm free. And I don't have to prove nothing to nobody. It's just that we have people out here who want to prove stuff to people and make you see my point and use those things in religion to beat people down. And let's get to the core of the matter. And I heard a disagreement in a family that I didn't really know, but I was there with a friend and he knew them. And we were kind of sitting around waiting for one of the parents to come home because they had to give an envelope of money. I think they borrowed it and they had to give it back to the other mother. And there was a little dispute that was brewing up, and I could figure out exactly what it was. They were talking about the Bible, and they were using the Bible to whip each other with it. And it was something else before that. I knew it because I was a perceptive young man. We got to refrain from that. Come clean. Be real. Meditate and look within yourself. Here it is. Seek mediation. Consider involving a neutral third party, such as a family counselor or religious leader, to mediate discussions and help resolve conflicts. Because lots of times when you have conflicts and there's emotions involved and it's a family member, and them emotions start flying, you ain't never going to get nowhere. They may act like it, but they ain't never going to get nowhere. I've been in the midst of people trying to resolve within their family conflicts, and after they walk away and pray and hug each other, one person, yeah, she's still messed up. She's still wrong. Then you didn't get to the point that you had to get to. That was all a waste of time. Ain't that something? Practice patience and understanding. Ooh, be patient with family members who struggle to accept differing beliefs. Understanding takes time, and change cannot be forced. Yes. So if you happen to be that Muslim who was raised in a Christian household, you can't be mad because they don't accept that right away. Practice patience and understanding. Right? Understanding. See, when we have these attributes, it helps us to move about the world easier because our vision goes further than just what's around us. And you can understand certain things. And when you have that vision and that insight, you can turn a situation that would be negative for somebody else, you can turn it around in your favor. And I'm not saying you have to be friends with these people, but in a sense, as in a figure of speech, you'll end up being the best of friends. That has happened to me when I was working in corrections, from the fact that I was from New York City, and they knew that. And the dudes here in the South in Florida, they had a thing against that. Like, oh, you think you're all that? But so I had to deal with that. But the humor was my weapon. You know what I mean? Humor was my weapon. And I said some crazy jokes to these dudes. They were like, oh, man, you want to change. We like you, man. You keep it real. And, yo, you ain't get mad when I was saying that? I said, no. And I would tell a joke on them, everybody laughing. So that's why what I would have, and what kept me from getting into conflicts with a lot of the guys who are incarcerated, it's like a big pot of soup. You don't put all the ingredients in at one time. You have some who the ingredients are already there cooking, and later on you put some other ones. You don't put something that takes a little bit of time to cook in the bowl of soup, the pot of soup, because it's going to cook out. Well, you put carrots and you put them a little early because carrots are tough. You take a little while before them to soften up. Same thing with potatoes. You put them bad boys in earlier. There's other things that cook quick that you wait till later on. So it kept me protected, because then every night it was like a late night show, 11:30 Arsenio Hall, whatever, and you telling jokes. So before I signed off and went home, and I'm locking them down, they telling jokes. We're all telling jokes. So the new people who were put into that unit, out of maybe 40 inmates, and four more come in during the day, maybe in a shift before me, they're new. But they saw how we got down, and they were assimilated into how things were, because I didn't have to prove myself to them, because they saw who was already there, how they got along with me, how they respected me, how I still did my job, but I wasn't rigid like that. It's like you say, understanding, right? Avoid religious manipulation. Recognize and avoid using religion as a tool for manipulation or control. Encourage healthy, respectful discussions instead. Religious manipulation. Oh my God. You get somebody, I don't want to say what country or what part, but on this side of the world where I am, and it's all over the world, I had a dream that the Lord told me to inspect every sister's breast inside this church. You know what I mean? And we see these videos, women on their knees on the beach in bathing suits, and they don't hike their skirts up, and the pastor's touching each person's butt cheek in the name of the Lord. Religious manipulation. We laugh at those things, but it goes on in more subtle ways. It takes more time sometimes. You see what I mean? I've known women who are dealing with pastors. Like I said, I'll say the year, 1981. I was dating this girl from 1980, and I kind of got close and got to know the rest of the family. And her older sister was dating the pastor. Pastor married, sitting up in the church with his wife and his kids, but she was secretly dealing with him. But her other, is it 2 or 3? 1, 2, 3. It was 3 other girls, young ladies, friends of hers. She was dealing with the pastor, and the pastor was dealing with the other 3 also. And these 4 would hang out. I forgot the 4th one's name. I'm not going to tell you your name. But we go out to this little nightclub called The Scene. I was 17 years old. I was hanging with grown folks. And they used to play the music right there in Rochdale, right by a Guy Brewer, or formerly New York Boulevard, right below Foch. There was this house that was converted into a club right on the main road there. And you could tell it was a house, but they extended so many parts of it out, big parking lot and everything. So unless you really noticed, you go in there, you couldn't tell the difference. Big dance floor, I remember, I was all buff. I used to love when that song came on. More bounce, boom, 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 to the ounce, boom, 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 boom. And I'd get out there and dance like I had all these muscles, because I did, but it fit me. I'm boom, 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 boom. And they would all be out there, I remember we hopped in the cab, my girlfriend, her sister, who was seeing the pastor, and the other 3 girls. And they were bragging about what the pastor did for them. Well, the pastor paid all my bills last month. Well, the pastor bought me this diamond ring. Well, the pastor going to take me on a cruise next month. And one of the girls said, Pastor ain't do nothing for me. I talked to him. And they all were in agreement. It's crazy. This functions. Like I said, in this lifetime, I've seen more than I should see, but I guess I'm supposed to see it so I can talk about it when I run my mouth on these shows. It's not like the creator said, well, Lance, you're going to be on YouTube like a million other people. No, it doesn't mean I'm special. But I got something to share. You know what I mean? What am I going to do? Sitting there, getting drunk somewhere, talking out my head, piss stains in my pants, and, nah. This keeps me young, keeps me clean and fresh. My mind is being used. You know what I mean? What's the next one? Yeah. Separate religious beliefs from personal issues. Make an effort to distinguish between religious disagreements and personal grievances. Address each issue separately to prevent them from becoming entangled. Compartmentalize is the word that I'm hearing. How many of us can do that? Like on jobs, you have a grievance with somebody, but you have to work with them. And you pissed off working with them. You mad, you got a little attitude, you work with them. They know it. Why can't you separate the thing? You see what I mean? Why can't you separate it? Ah, Landon Price, huh? I didn't. Oh, Willie Rivers. Oh man. Oh man, I didn't see y'all come in. Sorry. I was just down in it. You know how I do. On that note, let me take another sip. I feel like there's sandpaper in my voice. Mm. You know you thirsty when water tastes like Kool-Aid. God dog. Woo! I love it. As long as it don't taste like vodka. That stuff is nasty. I don't drink anyway like that. Create safe spaces for discussion. Establish safe spaces within the family where members can discuss their beliefs without fear of rejection or criticism. And I would even say not just that type of safe space where right now what goes on here stays here. You have to be mature. You don't have to speak the bylaws, right? But also have a place where you don't create bad memories because you discussed it in the living room. And every time you come in that living room, you're thinking about, you know what I mean? Like take it somewhere in the backyard, in the corner somewhere where you don't even go that much, and you leave it there, right? It doesn't mean, well, every time we have an argument, we have a dedicated room. There's something's wrong with y'all if you have to have a dedicated room for that. That means you got some major issues. But the bottom line is don't, because we can have memories about certain things. Come on, you drive through old neighborhoods. I remember I used to be on the swing over there and climbing a tree over here and I remember I had that fight over there and I got knocked out. We remember these things. I remember it was 1978. Was it in August? We had a block party, and our block parties were dope because within a mile radius, kids, youngsters, and even young folks, young men, women would come because we had a guy in the block, Mr. King. I can say his name. He wouldn't mind. He's deceased anyway. He had the dope sound system, and his house was right in the middle of the block. Perfect. There was this guy, I won't say his name. He always used to mess around with me and poke fun at me because I was starting to lift weights and do stuff then. And one day it was like, come on, man, leave me alone. And I started talking back to him more. And he got in my face, and I hit him and knocked him out during the block party. All the girls from a mile around, even more, were there to see it. And it was a straight KO. And to tell the rest of the story, his brother in the attached house next door, because I was in my friend's yard across the street, he said, hey, he psyched me. He said, hey, man, I'm glad you did that, man, because he's a pain in the backside. He need to learn his lesson. So I'm thinking he understood how I felt. He said, come here, man, I'll talk to you. I'll talk to you. And he reached in his pocket like he's going to give me some money. Then he disappeared deep into the house. So me like a fool, I went, opened the door, went inside. He was heading to the kitchen. He turned around and pulled out a butcher knife. He says, yeah, I got you now. Now, you know how those doors, little screen doors, they have a little pressurized way of closing real slow. Man, I leaped over the couch, got to that door, man, I ran home up the block. He was laughing. He was just trying to scare me. But I went and got my German Shepherd, went in my basement, locked myself down there. My parents went home. My father found out. He went down there and talked to them. But many years went by behind that. And I ran into the guy that I hit and knocked out because that stuck with him. That gave me a reputation. I couldn't even find a fight to get into, and I was never one looking for fights. Oh, man, he knocked him out. So that protected me, Even bigger dudes that don't mess around other people. I ain't gonna mess with Lance, man. He got that power in his hand. So I saw him again. And the funny part about it is, the night before I dreamt about him. And what you talking about? You dream about dudes, SCURV? What's wrong with you? Rainbow? No. We all have dreams of old friends and nemesis and different things, right? So I dreamt about him. So I'm walking out the door and I said, yo, no hard feelings. We never talked since then because he moved away. I was like, yo, what's up, man? Yo, I can't believe it. Man, I dreamt of you last night. And he just looked at me and went, psst. Now we grown men now. But he held that. That must have meant something to him. I can't say I lost a fight because I've never really been in a fight, many fights. The ones I did hit people, that was it. But I wasn't a person who was always getting into things. If I was like that, I'm quite sure I'd have a couple losses on my belt because I wasn't walking around like Mr. Tough Guy. I never started nothing. I didn't like fighting because I'd get mad so much and I'd be mad for the next 3 days and can't sleep. Even now, I don't fight nobody, but if I get angry and get out of control, I'll be up for at least 3 days. That messes up my schedule. I can't have that. Plus, I love to sleep. Say names, Lancelator. Dude, you live in Ghana. You ain't coming to do nothing. And they ain't coming to sue nothing. It'd be kind of hard to find me unless I give you that that digital address. Ain't nothing up here. There's a couple of houses and whatnot, but trust me, technology, just me using the internet, they don't know the powers that be. He's getting out of hand. We have to go pay him a visit. That's crazy. Set boundaries. Establish clear boundaries regarding religious discussions. Agree on what topics are off limits or how to approach sensitive subjects respectfully. That's wise to do. Because most people, they dive into stuff without taking the time to set the boundaries. Because we get triggered off with certain topics. Say, for example, you have a gay brother in your household, and he might be religious. Whatever, And he, don't bring up anything about LGBTQ. We're approaching this situation because of our family member. Well, you know what I mean? Just be intelligent with it. You can't change it. If it changes, it's going to change. Focus in, laser focus on the issue. Surgical precision is my favorite word. One of the favorite phrases. Surgical precision. I'm here for this. This is what I'm going to do today. This is what I'm going to do for the next 3 hours. I'm focusing on this. I'm giving my all to this. The other stuff, it'll fall in place. I got some shorts for you, Mad Guns. I'm the short king. Got about 7 of them. I wanted to do 10, but it got too dark. I'm stupid enough to go out there with the mosquitoes and do 3 more. No, I'm not going to do that. I just make up tomorrow. Tomorrow I got to make some runs. I'm going to hopefully get some footage, random footage like I used to. But I'm always thinking it has to be spectacular, No, show you the streets and walk, So I'll take my action camera and my phone. I got this nice little narrow knapsack. I have a wider one, but it's too big. Not really, too wide. Too much space for the stuff that I carry, right? Because when I go into town, I carry only but so much, right? And this is perfect for that. So I don't even feel like I'm weighed down with anything. But one thing, it has space for your toilet paper. And why do I say toilet paper? Well, if you ever come to Ghana, be prepared. I'll say 75 or 80% of the establishments that you go into and use the bathroom, they're very lax on replacing paper, if you know what I mean. Bring your own paper. Bring your own brew. BYOP. Bring your own paper. Yep. The monkey's going to get me. The hyena's going to get me. Who is it that asked me about the tigers and lions? And be careful. Well, it's not in that area, this area of Ghana. Not to say one can't migrate and find himself down here. You know what I mean? Last one, celebrate differences. Find ways to celebrate the diversity of beliefs within the family, such as sharing cultural or religious traditions in a way that everyone can appreciate. What's wrong with that? What's wrong with that? Doesn't mean you're disrespected because a family member goes off into a different religion. Doesn't mean that. You're still that family member to them. They still love you. If they act like they don't, maybe you treated them so bad, but deep down they still love you. That's your kin. That's your family. Accept them. You may not want to accept all the things they do, right? I just dropped a link and see if anybody wanted to come on in. It is essential to recognize that religious differences are not inherently divisive. Rather, it is the way we handle these differences that determines the impact on family relationships. By focusing on common values, setting healthy boundaries, and addressing underlying issues, Black families can transform religious conflict into an opportunity for growth and deeper connection. Healing begins when family members prioritize love and unity over the need to be right, allowing each person to walk their spiritual path with dignity and respect. The journey to reconciliation may not be easy, but it is possible. With patience, empathy, and a commitment to understanding, Families can bridge the gaps created by differing beliefs and come together in the spirit of love and mutual respect. In doing so, they can preserve the strength and resilience that have always been the hallmark of Black families, ensuring that their bonds remain unbroken in the face of any challenge. Anybody want to come on in? I just dropped a link in there, and I'm gonna keep hitting these topics like this. And I believe it's Monday. I'm not going to spill the beans on it, but tomorrow I'm going to make the link for a spectacular show we're going to do on Monday. And yes, I will do a show tomorrow. Like I said, I'm going to always hammer it down Monday through Friday at a certain time, like I do. Tonight was an hour later than usual. And but during the weekend, I will do shows. I'll do a lot of, when I go out, I'll have the show set. When I go out, I want to be free to just videotape, and I might stay up till 10, 11, 12 o'clock at night. It may be that way, and that may knock a show off. So that's why I say, if I happen to come in, and I don't always go out on Saturday, but if I'm like, I'm home at 5 o'clock, 6 o'clock, let me do a show. It may be here or there, but there'll always be uploads. There'll always be shorts. There'll always be different stuff. But I want to bring you and make you see a little bit more of Ghana, And I have so many plans that are happening within the next few weeks. Like I said, I'm very happy about. I'm very blessed. The Creator brought people into my life that guide me and show me things and make me better. And I hopefully they can feel the support that I have for them. It's really wonderful, especially when you go through rough times. And maybe you might be still going through challenging times. It doesn't mean rough, but there's always something to balance nature out and bring you a soothing mentality and a focused mentality by the example that others share with their walks in life. And that's why I love you all so much. And Riri, I see you. I didn't see you earlier. Oh yeah, you were here earlier. I kept missing. Oh my God, I'm slipping. I hope I ain't doing the Joe Biden thing right about now, right? But anyway, somebody came in. It's okay. It's cool. I will do something tomorrow night. I do have to go out. I'm gonna hit the sack. I'm gonna get up early. I'll make my runs and go all over town. So I have some clips here and there. The clips are not going to make sense. It's not like, well, today we're going to walk in this particular area and interview this person. Just random clips showing you the street. So I got to come up with a name for that because I want to make a playlist for that. So people who come on say, why you just had 5 minutes here and 10 minutes there and you put them all together? What's the purpose? Well, you over there, you don't know what it's like over here. I mean, it's no different. Cars have 4 wheels. We don't have hovercrafts over here. People eat food. We drive on the same side of the road as we do in America, but there's certain little cultural things that you'll see differences. Like, wow, it's cool to see that. So it's nothing for me to, while I'm walking down the street, to hold the camera in my hand. I may get a whole lot of it one time. It may be walking down a boring street, but I want to make every moment of my life to be able to be shared in some kind of way. I don't want any scraps that down here now, but since I can't make a Steven Spielberg production movie, it's not going to happen. No, it's something you'll never get tired of. That's what it is. But yeah, thank you. Giant Gato, so you know what time it is. My new delivery. 8 pounds, 10 ounces, right? Well, that was my birth weight. No, I don't give birth, but those who know and can read between the lines, you know exactly what I was talking about, right? But yeah, so I'm going to get ready to skedaddle. I'm going to set up some things online, do some graphics, entertain myself with a couple of videos on bodybuilding and boxing. That's my pet peeve. Keep up with things and stuff like that. And just enjoy life. That's what it's all about. Anyway, I'm going to cut out. And much love to you all. LANCESCURV out. See you tomorrow. On to the next one. Hit me back anytime. Peace.
Take pack to the lung, kill the stress to the head. I'm trying to do more for the soul, way less for the bread. Oh yes sir. I take pack to the lung, kill the stress to the head. I see the things that they do way less than they said. Cause it's a war on the real, baby, look outside. A war on the real, baby, look out. Cause it's a war on the real, baby, look outside. A war on the real, baby, look out. Cause it's a war on the real, baby, look outside. A war on the real, baby, look out. Cause it's a war on the real, baby, look outside. A war on the real, baby, look out.
Can't be a real, might get you canceled. The whole system need to dismantle. Coppers treated like the utmost wanted. Tryna rule the block but don't know what goes on it. News got a story with a new take on me. Carrying out the window with the screw face on me. But I know that God love me when my burn 95 degrees and I can't get sunburned. Wonder when your government don't make me legal. Burn the whole city if I can't be equal. Get off my please, Brad, I earned that. 400 years, how you still ain't learned that? I take pack to the lung, kill the stress to the head. I'm tryna do more for the soul, way less for the bread. Yes sir, I take pack to the lung, kill the stress to the head. I see the things that they do way less than they say.
Cause it's a war on the real, baby, look outside. A war on the real, baby, look out. Cause it's a war on the real, baby, look outside. A war on the real, baby, look out. Cause it's a war on the real, baby, look outside. A war on the real, baby, look out. Cause it's a war on the real, baby, look outside. A war on the real, baby, look out.
Shout out to the tryna gentrify the genre. Tell them free my middle finger to your honor. End of days coming down to seconds on the timer. Goofy still trying to purchase that designer. About to buy, learn to grow my own food. Cause I don't like the look they give me in the Whole Foods. And when you stay ready, you ain't gotta get ready. But it ain't on me now, I'm limping cause my heavy. But ain't sweet, think we thin. My whole attitude on MC Ren. It's my neighborhood now, Bob, I bought that. 400 years, how you still ain't caught that? I take pack to the lung, kill the stress to the head. I'm tryna do more for the soul, way less for the bread. Yes sir, I take pack to the lung, kill the stress to the head. I see the things that they do way less than they say.
Cause it's a war on the real, baby, look outside. A war on the real, baby, look out. Cause it's a